We're wasting precious time. Come on to the theater.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Boyos Discuss, the podcast where we pick a topic and then shoot the shit about it for a while. This week we're continuing Boyos Summer Musicals with 2002's Chicago. I'm Matthew, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Ben and Other Ben. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going with you.
Good.
I am doing good as well. So what is y'all's history with this movie before we sort of get into the meat and potatoes of this?
So I watched this the first time when I was like 12, and it blew my socks off. I think it was the first musical I saw that wasn't Disney. So it was like, wow, you can talk about like sex and violence and jazz. And I had all the enthusiasm that a cringy 13 or 12-year-old has about whatever new thing they have.
I think my parents watched this a lot and liked it, and then I was still like, when I was young, I fucking hated musicals. We'll just clear the air with that. That like I didn't see the artistry or anything. I was just like, this is stupid and dummy like. And
I'm the first person to say, why are they singing? I'm so smart.
right, yeah, I was like, what's the point? I don't get it. And I didn't even like notice how like sex filled it was, and which is weird because I was at such a ripe, horny age. But I didn't. I guess that all just went over my head. And so I was just like, fuck musicals. And then when I finally did like musicals, I didn't watch the movie, but I was in like New York. I got family there, and it was in the city, and it was on Broadway. And I was like, oh, I want to see a Broadway play. And Cuba Gooding was Billy Flynn. And I was like, well, fucking dope. I love Cuba Gooding. So I got tickets and I saw the musical on Broadway. And that was the first time I saw Chicago. And then I think this is the first time I actually watched the movie all the way through. Because I think I got up to like Cell Block Tango as a kid. And I was like, fake and gay. And then I just like turned it off.
The song about all the scantily clad women grinding on people. You're like, this is
honestly,
ladyboy nonsense.
I don't know what was going on with me.
So for me, I like, for whatever reason, we own it on DVD, but I never watched it. So like the only things I really knew about it were like the Cell Block Tango and then the song Mr. Cellophane, because they had that in the first episode of Glee, which is a very nice, like big deep cut. But like I didn't know that this was a dark comedy. I didn't know that it primarily took place in jail. Like I thought the song about murder was just a thing that happened. I didn't know that it was like pretty much the entirety of the plot revolved around it. So I don't know, I felt sort of blindsided by it being a dark comedy, because like it sort of didn't click with me until a good portion of the way through, and I'm like, oh, they're supposed to be terrible people, and that's part of the appeal, I guess.
It's not like Rent, where it's like, this person is just videotaping homeless people to call himself an artist. He's a hero.
Yeah, Rent never really has that like wink at the camera moment where it's like, yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to reach that conclusion on your own.
No, they're good people for bullying their friend into dating a stripper who's on heroin.
So with that out of the way, I'm going to kick things over to Ben so we can talk about the synopsis of this.
All right, so the synopsis I read when I wrote this said that it's in 1924, but I don't remember that ever being mentioned in the movie. But it's definitely like the 20s. There's flappers and, you know...
Whenever they talk about booze, it's like, oh, very exciting and dangerous.
Right, yeah. So definitely the 20s. And I think it's in Chicago. But... No, so Velma Kelly, who is Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's definitely hotter in this movie. Roxy ain't got it. But Velma, she nice, dude. So Catherine Zeta-Jones, she runs in, and she's like running through an alley, and it's dark, and the jazz music is booming, and it's playing, and she's like running into a club, and this is like the overture song, and she runs in the club, and they're like, Velma, where you been, toots? And she's like, give me a minute, and she like runs into her dressing room, dumps a gun in her like lingerie, washes blood off her hands, all while like getting ready to go on stage. And it's like a sister act, like her and her sister are supposed to go on, but she just like makes it at the last minute onto stage by herself, and there's like two spotlights, and it's awkward. She's like, no, just give me the spotlight.
Yeah.
So she starts singing All That Jazz, which I think is the most famous song from this musical.
That's the third one.
Which is weird to me because it's like fine. It's like compared to some of these other songs, it's all right. Like it's a great song, don't get me wrong, but there's better ones in my opinion. But it's good. Sets the tone very, very quickly, which I really appreciate, where it's just like, this is going to be super sexualized and, what's the scandalous. And, there's murder and sex, like, in 2 seconds of watching this movie. And so it's like, all right, cool, I get it.
Talking about how it's like a sexy thing. So when I was in college, the show also came and it was like a live theater version. One of my buddies, love him to death, but he's a very Puritan, good old Christian boy. And he took a friend who is like, I don't want to date her, but just what other platonic thing do a man and woman do than go to the theater? And I was like, that's whatever. But then afterwards, he was like, Ben, that was a very like sexual show.
You're
I was
welcome.
like, yeah, I was like, I think she got the wrong idea. That sounds like your conversation to walk out of.
Dope. Just wait till they go see the Book of Mormon, and they're like, "What is this?" So she's doing her number. They do all that jazz. And in the crowd is Roxy Hart, who is Renee Zellweger, and she watches the show. And fucking Detective McNulty from The Wire is her boyfriend. Fucking Dominic West, I think his name is. And he's like, "Yay, you like my club or whatever?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I could make it here." And he's like, "Yeah, I'll get you hooked up. Now come home with me so we can bang." And she's like, "Yeah, of course." And they run away, and then the police come, and they're looking at Velma, and Velma's looking at them, and it's like, oh. So they arrest Velma. Roxy, is running home with McNulty, and she's just like, they're both just drunkenly slamming into everybody's doors, and this old woman, like, they're just fucking aggressively humping on this lady's door, and she comes out and she's like, "The fuck, man! I'm tired of cleaning up your messes on my walking mat, my welcome mat." And she's like, "Nah, this is my brother," which is
She's like, I didn't ask,
just
but
funny.
okay.
Have you ever hoped so much that people are just cheating on their husband and not telling the truth?
Right? Yeah, he's my brother, and they're like finger banging each other in front of her, and she's just like, "Stop it! That makes it worse." So they go to Roxy's room and they bang, and she like makes a big point of putting her like wedding photo down, and it's like, oh, I appreciate that they let the audience be like, "Oh, she's married," instead of her being like, "What about my husband?" or something. So it's like, nice.
What, you thought they were just saying he's my brother as a sex thing?
Maybe. I don't know what people are into, dude.
Don't yuck their yum.
What?
You never heard
Don't
that?
yuck their yum? What the fuck? So time passes and they're still banging, and they have another session, and like they finish, and McNulty just gets up and he's like, "Meh." And he's like getting dressed, and Roxy's like, What's the matter? And he's just like, "I fucking hate you, bitch." And he's like telling her that he never had any connection to any club. He just wanted that ace. And Roxy's like, "My ace? Here's my ace," and shoots him 3 times because he's like, he is throwing her around the room and like slapping her, and he's just like, "Don't you hear me, you crazy broad? I just wanted the boost." And he like throws her around the room, which is, doesn't make me like him. So when Roxy shoots him, it's like, oh, she shouldn't have shot him, but I could see it.
So I listened to the album for the original or the revival in the 90s on Broadway. This exchange where she shoots him, I don't know if they cut out stuff for like time, but just like, "I'm leaving." She's like, "No one walks out on me," and then just shoots him in cold blood, and it's
That's dope, dude. What a fucking gangster.
So I was reading online, apparently there are songs that are in the Broadway version, but not in this. Because, like, there's a lot of, I guess, like, cutaways to Roxy's, like, imagination, I guess.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they were like, no, we're not doing that. And it's like, I guess.
I know why one was cut. It's to maintain the, like, fantasy of the movie. I'll call it out when we get there. But we're going to sound very smart and highfalutin.
Yes, that's why we do this. I'm a horrible reference if you want to ask if something was in the Broadway musical or not. I fucking forget.
But you saw Cuba Gooding Jr.
I did see Cuba Gooding Jr. It was dope. So fucking she kills him, and she's like, "Oh no," and the police come, and they're there to interview Roxy, and then this is where you get introduced to her husband, Amos, who's played by John C. Reilly, and he fucking
Did
kills
not
it.
know he was in this.
Yeah, I know.
and
He
is-
surprises everybody when he first shows up.
Yeah.
It's awesome. No, he's great. John C. Reilly people underestimate. They watch Step Brothers and they're like, oh, he's a Will Ferrell, but he's like super fucking versatile. Like,
have you ever seen Dewey Cox? He did like 50 original songs. Like the album is that long, and only about 13 of them made it in the movie.
You seen Dr. Steve Brule?
I have not.
Oh, dude, that's.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't get the memes.
Yeah. No, he's great. So John C. Reilly's there, and he's talking to the police, and he's like trying to defend or trying to cover up what's happening because he loves Roxy, and he's like, "Oh, this guy." He come up with a story together, like he was a burglar, and he came in, and my wife was home. Thank goodness, and she had a gun, and I had a gun, and I came in right when he came in, and I don't want to think about what would have happened if I didn't fucking slap this guy 3 times in the chest. And the police are like, well, see, that doesn't really check out now, see? And he's like, wait. And while he's doing this, Roxy is just kind of like in her own world fantasizing, and she's like in her mind, and it's really cool how the movie does this. It does this a lot, where it's like the metaphors are like what these people are, you know, what their character and attitudes are like. It's characterized in a separate like fantasy club, like a jazz club. So like later on, you know, different characters will be singing a number when they're first introduced and stuff. But she's like on top of a piano singing about how she loves her husband. And he's like, that funny honey of mine, and he's a lovey bunny. I love him. He's so nice. He's not the smartest, but he's got a big dick.
No, that song is "I Love Him Because He Sucks."
Yeah, pretty
so
much. She's like, I got him in the palm of my hand. And then the police like search the dead guy's wallet, and they're like, hey, this is Detective McNulty from The Wire. He's beloved. And he's like, I love that show. Did you lie to me? No, but he's like a furniture salesman, and Amos is like, wait, that guy sold his furniture. He gave us a discount. He was my homie. Wait. Why was he robbing us? Wait, were you fucking him? So he's like doing this in real time when the police are watching, and Roxy's song of loving her husband turns into like, you dumb motherfucker. And she's like yelling at him in her song and in real life. And Amos is just like, no, she sucks and had an affair with me, and I can't believe it, and fuck this bitch, and she killed him. And so she's arrested, and they're like, and the old bitch who's cleaning up the sweat stains from her doorknob, she comes in and like fingers Roxy and is like, they didn't rob her because he had his tongue in her mouth in front of my house. So they're like, you see, you didn't have no alibi. It's like, I knew you was a liar from the start. And then they arrest her, and they're like, you're going to be brought to court tomorrow, and then we're going to hang your ass. And it's just like, goddamn. And it's the district attorney there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Which is kind of random. I don't know why he just shows up for, like, not even, like, I guess they knew they were going to arrest her, but it was more of like a
It was
interview.
like a slow Tuesday.
Yeah.
He was like...
The DA was a little bored.
If we have any like lawyer visitor or listeners, I was confused because it's like, yep, the trial is going to be tomorrow, and then you're going to die. And I feel like the state would want more time to build a case than just, you know.
Now they
shoot from
would,
the
but
hip.
this is the Roaring Twenties, man. She's sent to Cook County Jail, and this is where Velma is too from the beginning of the movie. And then the like warden, which is very progressive of Cook County Jail to have a female warden. She comes in,
And a woman of color.
and a woman of color, yes, Queen Latifah, no less.
She is the hottest one in the movie.
You're
And I will
insane.
die on that hill.
You
Okay.
can die alone.
have fun. Yeah.
Her cleavage is absurd.
Well, I agree. That's some nice
Absurd.
titty meat. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, dude. Fucking.
And she's maybe got a thing with Velma. Like, they're chumming around
That's
a lot.
true,
and,
yeah.
like, later on, like, she sort of buttons up, Queen Latifah does. But then later on, she's hanging out with Velma, and it's all...
It's all out there.
Yeah, it's all out there. And it's like, what was going on? I don't know.
Fucking. What's her name? The last one in Cell Block Tango when they're like. Lipschitz.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty hot, dude. Lipschitz is pretty fine.
I don't remember. the
Well,
rest.
I remember.
It's just 6 real dime shows, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So Matthew's crush is the warden, Queen Latifah. She's Mama Morton, and she sings "Good to Mama," which is a fucking banger.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
very good song. Yeah.
So she's singing pretty much, and it's in this like fake club setting that's not actually happening, but she's all like dressed to the nines and fucking like flapper uniform with her big old big old boobies like halfway out, and she's shaking around in like a feather fan and being like, "When you
Yeah, it's
fuck
like a
me."
cabaret
Yeah.
sort of thing going on.
Yeah. If you suck me first, then I'll suck you later. And it's just like a whole song about like, when you're good to me, I'm gonna fuck you.
But like
It's pretty much a give me the cash.
yeah, that's the only way they like are good to Mama is giving her money.
Give me the cash.
Which when they're like going through the jail, the like openness of the bribing broke my suspension of disbelief because Velma just like lifts up her dress, pulls a 20 out of her garter, and is like
sticks it in her like boobs or something.
yeah, it's like here you go, Mama. It's like what?
Yeah.
I get like the guard next to you is probably on the take, but there's like this is an open prison. People can see shit. Mm-hmm. At least pretend it's not happening.
I mean, apparently it doesn't fucking matter. Like, why? I don't know.
Because Mama's good to all of them.
Mama's so good, dude. So she sings her "Give Me the Cash" song, and Roxy is like being escorted to her cell, and it's a cold corner cell, and she's like, "Mama, I heard you're good to people, so maybe if you do," and she's like, "Shut up, bitch!" She just like slams the gate in her face, and Roxy starts crying, and I haven't said this, but like Renee Zellweger is probably the weakest person in the movie.
Yeah, she was
acting-wise.
nominated for Best Actress.
Yeah, well, I mean that's just because
She
the
didn't
Academy
win it,
loved the
though.
movie. I feel like that was just like
Also,
courtesy.
I don't
'cause
wanna-
She wasn't.
I don't want to come off as petty, but like the whole time the crux is that Roxy is just like so hot that she can do whatever she wants around her, and I was like,
Nah, man.
no.
All I ever think of when I think of Renee Zellweger is on Family Guy they have it's like The Picnic, and they make fun of her having sort of a scrunched face, and she's like an anteater.
Yeah.
And it-
The ants are ruining this picnic. You mean the picnic is ruining the ants?
She does. She's weird. It looks like she's like holding water in her cheeks. Like she's just like a squirrel. Kind of. She's got weird like puff cheeks. I don't know.
yeah.
She's. I don't see it. And she just is like very punchable the whole movie. She just is like almost
She's like
baby
smug.
talking.
Yeah, I don't.
Wee, but I could be famous. And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Fuck you, Mr. Poison God. It's like, that's a good way to lose your teeth.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of like baby talk accent that just bothers me. I don't know. It's meh. I didn't really like her, but she doesn't ruin anything. It's just kind of weak. But so she's put in a cell. She starts crying, and it's like, yeah, you know, it shouldn't don't kill people, I guess. And cue Cell Block Tango, which is my favorite song. That's fucking awesome.
It is a good song.
This shit on Broadway was fucking dope. But the Cell Block Tango starts, which is like these 6 other inmates singing about like how they're there and what they did, and it's like
They're all saying it's like, it was an accident, or like I didn't do it, but like
Yeah,
if I did,
the chorus is he had it coming.
he had it coming.
He had it coming.
They only had themselves.
They only had themselves to blame.
yeah.
If you'd have been there, if you'd have seen it, I bet you would have done the same.
Yeah.
And they're saying
So-
like it was whoopsie daisies. Like, my husband caught me screwing the milkman, so he ran to my knife. He ran to it 10 times.
Yeah, a lot of them are like, this guy was, fucking another person, so I killed him. But one of them's just like, he chewed gum really loud, so I fucking killed him. And it's like, oh my god.
Double tapped him with a shotgun.
Yeah. And then this is where you learn what Velma did. And Velma called Cicero in the song because she's at the Cicero Hotel or whatever. I don't know. She fucking found her sister and her like husband in bed together, so she killed them both. Right. So she sings about that, and you're like, that's what happened.
And then there's a Hungarian who is saying she doesn't speak English, and she's saying I'm not guilty. Although when me and Ben were watching this, we were saying that she was saying how much she loved the screams of the children, and she's the only one who really deserves to die.
I'm cold without the warm blood running down my hands and things like this. I don't know what. It's gibberish, but somebody translate this for us. All she knows how to say is like, "Not guilty," and they're like, "Oh, this bitch did it." But it's cool how they do this thing because, like, with cinema, they're able to switch, sets very quickly. So, like, they're doing the whole like imaginary, jazz routine, but in between, you just see like every time one of them is narrating what happened. You see them at like a cafeteria table or playing cards or in their cell or something. And it's a really cool way to like segue that this is what's happening in real life. This is the fantasy. You know, here's the difference between the two and stuff. But I like that a lot. So that's one thing that like the movie could definitely, like, I don't know. I see a lot of adaptations of musical where it's like you didn't need to make it a movie because you've added nothing. This is one where it's like, that's a cool thing that couldn't have existed on stage. So I appreciate that. So that song ends. Roxy's doing laundry or something, giving out laundry, and she's like eavesdropping, and she hears Mama and Velma talking about this guy Billy Flynn, and like Velma should call him, and he's a crack lawyer and stuff. And so Velma comes out of the room, and Roxy's like, "Oh, you're great. I love you. You're so hot, and let's be friends." And she's like, "Bitch, if you sniff my underwear one more time, we're gonna have an issue. You get the fuck away from me." So Roxy's like, and then she goes to Mama, and she's like, "Oh, what was that you were talking about?" And she's like, "Oh, this lawyer Flynn." And as she's explaining, this is where the song starts, right? She's explaining who this guy is, and it cues like a whole jazz introduction in Fantasy World, and Billy Flynn comes out and he's singing. I forgot the name of the actor, but he's good. He's really good. And
Richard Pryor, I think.
What?
That was a swing and a miss.
That would be sick. I'd watch the fuck out of that. But he sings "All I Care About," which is like him going like, "I don't care about money. I care about love." But he's a piece of shit and he only wants money.
Yeah.
He loves money.
Okay, I was close. It's Richard Gere.
Oh, hey, okay.
I got the first name right.
You were close in name, not in anything else. So he sings about, you know, women and all this stuff and blah blah blah, but you actually don't see him yet. But then he comes to the prison because he's Velma's lawyer after his routine, and he comes and he visits Velma, and Roxy is like, "Hey, work for me too." And he's like, "Bet you have $5,000." She's like, "No, but I have the puss. You could have puss." And he's like, "Well, I'm glad you got that out of your system. Now give me $5,000.
What an absolute Sigma Thunder Chad.
He's a Chad Thundercock. So
also, like when you do inflation, that 5,000 in 1920s is about 86,600 in today's money.
yeah, Roxy's like, "That's a lot of money." And he's like, "Yeah, well, how much is your dumb life worth, you idiot?" So Amos shows up to Flynn's office, and he's like, "Here's everything I could get." He's like, "Here's my buddies loaned me this and this," and he's emptying out all his pockets, and he's like, "There you go." And Billy Flynn's like, "That's 2,000. See, I don't like when you lie because you said you had 5,000. And he's like, "Well, I tried. I guess I'm sorry." And he's like starting to get his money, and Billy Flynn's like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah. I like money still." And he takes the money.
He does have a great line, though. It's like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but if Jesus Christ was in Chicago and he had $5,000, I think it would have worked out differently.
Yeah. So he takes the money, and he's like, "All right, I'll represent Roxy." So he goes to prison and visits Roxy, and they make up like a whole alibi story about how she's like this pure lost soul that came from the Kansas or something, and she found McNulty, and she was like, "Oh, I got wrapped up in the craziness of Chicago life, but I wanted to end it because I'm a pure righteous mother or wonderful woman." And he was like, "No, the sex was too good. I'm coming for you." And he like tried to kill her with a gun, and they both went for the gun, and she just got it first, and that's their story that they're going with. So now it cuts to a press conference outside of this courthouse, and they sing, I don't know, this is another tie for my favorite. I love this song. We both reach for the gun.
Is this the one with the puppet sequence?
Like Flynn pretty much like, it's
like
dope.
a marionette thing.
And it is exactly like it is on Broadway.
Like Roxy's a ventriloquist dummy because he's like speaking for her in the press conference.
Right.
And like you see all the reporters are like marionettes because they're just doing whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Little Easter egg here, which I don't know if anyone would have gotten unless they were like a grandmother when they saw it when it first got on Broadway in the 70s. But she says that she's like from the country and had all this family wealth that was lost apparently in the 1910s and early 20s. that was used by a lot of vaudeville people as like a backstory to get sympathy. So it became so overused, it was like a joke that's what hack performers say their background is. So it's funny because she's a hack performer, and, you know, no one will get that joke anymore.
How did you even hear about that joke?
IMBD.
Nice. So they sing this song, which is probably, I think, the most impressive routine that they do in this whole movie, of just like the costumes, the set, and the effects that they have to do with all these characters as like puppets.
Well, and like I love the bit at the end. It's like a stupid one where he is drinking the glass of water
Yeah,
or
and he's
whatever.
singing.
It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. My favorite thing about this scene in the movie is that like the reporters are marionettes and Billy Flynn's controlling them, and that's the idea. But you actually like, since it's a movie, you can they cut to Billy Flynn as literally the puppeteer with the strings, like working them and just like laughing about it, and that's dope. Like it's a really cool effect that is improved in the movie. So bravo again, movie.
There's also a minor character in this called Miss Sunshine, who's a woman reporter, and I had forgotten about this until I like reread the like I had seen it on stage before, and I reread the synopsis for this. On stage, Miss Sunshine is like a guy in drag who like takes off the wig and goes, "Things aren't always what they appear." I don't think they cut it because people would be upset. It's just that it adds nothing to the musical and is an extra step.
I don't remember that when I watched it, but in the musical. But I mean, fucking, it seems very forgettable.
Yeah.
What's the point? I don't know. I just like to get naked.
Things aren't always as they appear. Yes, that's been the thesis of this show.
Yeah. That's a r/I'm the main character moment.
It is, but in conclusion, real banger of a song.
Yeah, it is a banger. And she's like up on the podium, and like he's like, "All right, don't say anything," and then she immediately starts talking, and it was
Do you
like,
want to know?
bitch.
yeah,
She's like, "Do you want to know why I shot the bastard?" And he's just like,
shut the fuck up. And it gave me some heavy Obi-Wan in the TV show telling little baby Leia not to talk.
Yeah, you had
And then she
flashbacks.
just rang fucking. Just listen to
the rebellion and
just listen to the man, you silly dame. Keep your trap shut before you get a little bit of this. No, but yes, do a Sean Connery bit. Well, sometimes she wants to say the last word, so you give it to her.
Jesus.
Fucking. Okay, so that song ends. The story that they tell makes Roxy famous, and like Chicago is completely obsessed with her. She's in the front page of all the papers. They do a montage about it, people getting tattoos of her and shit. And now Velma is yesterday's news, so she's all poopy about that.
And she says like, only thing Flynn's looking out for is himself, or she says some snarky shit like that, and it's like,
And that's
ooh.
true.
Yeah,
and then
but we'll get there.
Yeah.
and then the worst song of the musical happens.
I just yes, no, it is. You're right. Yeah, I thought that was just like a typo. No, it is the worst song. Roxy sings about herself, and it's fine. But like the fucking, so I hope you like hearing, bum, 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 because that happens like they do that for like 8 minutes, and it's just like, dude. And it's like it's not even like it's not a big showstopper song. It's this very like calm, almost like spoken song, and it's just so boring, especially coming off of that fucking Reached for the Gun, which is so like fast paced and action packed, and like I don't know.
This one is
sucked.
just her sitting on like a marquee sign of her name, being like, "I'm awesome.
I'm the best. I'm famous, and I love it." And it's done, 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 done. For fucking so long.
There's also like a bit that I like. Me and Ben like argue like, what the fuck did she just say? Because I looked it up later. It's, I love the audience loves me, and we all love each other because we all didn't get enough love when we were kids. Because that's show business, kid. I was like, what the fuck? It's a super goony line that someone, I bet, felt so goddamn clever when they wrote.
Yeah, that's one song that could definitely just be taken out, because it doesn't add anything besides like Roxy acts like more of a cunt because she's more famous now, and that's kind of just the gist of it. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that one. So after that song ends, they're back in prison, and Velma is like, comes up to Roxy, and the roles are reversed, and she's like, Roxy, I brought you chocolate. And Roxy's like, those are all for you, you fat bitch. And Velma's like, well, I had this routine with my sister, and we should do it together. And she does a song, and it's I Can't Do It Alone, which is good. It's like, you know, she'd do this part, and then she'd like do a dance routine, and then you do this part and does a dance routine and stuff. So it's impressive, and it's a cool showcase. And then Roxy's just like disinterested as fuck the whole time. It's like very Mean Girls.
Yeah.
I think Roxy doesn't realize that, like, maybe it's because I've seen the Oz a bit, but I think prison is probably a violent place, but Roxy just being a cunt to everyone.
Yeah, no, she
Then
would
she
get
gets
stabbed.
shanked.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Velma's gonna hand someone a fistful of cigarettes and cash, and then Roxy's gonna know what her guts look
Yeah,
like.
they'd like cut her nose off and shave half her head and be like, now, yeah, go be famous now, you idiot. Like, Roxy's very arrogant here, and I don't think that that's the right idea. But I mean, nothing happens to her. But it's like, that's a little suspension of disbelief right there. You'd get fucked up. So she's just like, Velma, that was a great little song. Now fuck off. So Velma leaves. Next, all of a sudden, just Lucy Liu is in the fucking musical, and she just pops in as like this heiress to like a fruit company or something. So she's super wealthy, but she like pops in because they just like bust the doors of the prison open, and she's being escorted in, and all the prisoners are like, what the fuck? And it's like, oh my god, Lucy Liu, she found her husband with 2 other girls and killed them all. She's a triple homicide. It's incredible. And then Billy Flynn is just like fucking drooling.
No, when he hears about it, he's at like he's having dinner at a club with some girls, and he gets a phone call, and it's like, it's the funniest shit I've ever heard.
Oh,
she
yeah.
killed 3 people.
That's very true. They're all laughing about it and shit. Yeah, it's great. So yeah, she comes into the prison. Billy Flynn's there, and he's just like, humana. And then like Roxy's like, what about my case? And he's like, bitch, who are you? And like runs off with Lucy Liu. So Roxy's panicking, and she's like, oh my god, what do I do? And she like faints. She pretends to faint, and all the reporters like stop going to Lucy Liu, go to her. She's like, what, Roxy, what's happening? And she's like, oh, I just hope that wasn't bad for the baby. And they're like, the baby. And so she has all the attention again.
There's a great shot to Velma, though, just like, it zooms in and there's like, shit.
Yeah, yep. Velma knows. It's fucking genius. Lucy Liu just disappears after that.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. You brought in Lucy Liu just to use her a little bit or something. I don't know. But she's just gone after that. It was just a very...
Maybe she lost her case, and she's swinging from the gallows.
Maybe. So, Amos, was he there? Or kind of missed this?
No, he's called later.
Okay.
Because Billy's like, hey, Amos, thanks for coming in. People know you're a cuck because they can do
This is in his office, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
No,
well,
before
he's at
he's at a courthouse or a jail.
They
or something.
take her to a hospital
Yes.
to like get a pregnancy test.
And he's
in
there.
the 20s. He's like in the crowd of people being like, I'm gonna be a dad?
And they're like,
Wow! And like everyone's ignoring him, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, okay, I
yeah,
guess."
yeah. It's so
It's so
he was
depressing.
at the jail. Yeah. So he was at the jail randomly, but he's like very excited about being a dad, and no one cares. And so he sings a song about nobody caring about him, and it's Mr. Cellophane, which is a fucking dime piece. That's a good ass song.
It's good,
And,
and I did not know John C. Reilly could sing.
He can
like,
definitely sing.
Yeah, he was good.
I tried to do this for a solo in middle school choir because I was a real sad boy once upon a time.
Oh no. You just broke down crying halfway through it, and they're like, look at he's so dedicated to the role.
Although, like, so John C. Reilly's like doing clown makeup, and I just imagine the thing from Joker where he forces himself to smile
Oh
and
my
cry.
god, yeah. Yeah, John C. Reilly for Joker. You know, Joaquin Phoenix is overrated. John C. Reilly could be subtle enough. He could put a lot of
But is this when like Amos
undertones.
goes to Billy's office then?
So he starts singing Mr. Cellophane, and he's like in a clown outfit on like a bare stage with no audience, which is a good kind of juxtaposition.
Well,
to,
like the audience is there, but they're like, they have like 1,000-yard stare
Yeah, I
thing going
get it,
on where
yeah.
they're like not really watching him.
Yeah, true. So it's good juxtaposition with like how the rest of the musicals in the fantasy world have been, or music numbers. But so this is when he goes to Billy Flynn's office, and he's like, I'm gonna be a dad. And Billy Flynn's like, oh, you think so? When was the last time y'all,
When did you have
had
the
sex?
natural obligation?
Yeah, the natural obligations. And he's like, 4 months ago? And he's like, oh, well, she's just now pregnant. What happened? And Amos is like, wait a minute. So he's like, it's not my baby. So he gets all poopy. And he's like, I'm going to divorce her. And Billy Flynn's like, really? He's like, yes. And so he's like, all right, well, see ya, Andy. And he's like, it's Amos.
That's another bit for people that I guess lived in the time, that Amos and Andy was a radio show in like the 20s and 30s. So that's a nice deep cut for
Why do you know that?
IMDb's fun fact page.
Oh.
You should just embrace it. You should be like, because I am an actual 1920s historian.
I am an immortal being.
Yes. General, I forget, Ed Morton Joe or something. No, that's
Mad Max.
Vandal Savage.
Kind of. I'm thinking of the Teen Titans guy who's with the brain. And he's like the tactician, and he's like General Immortal or something. And you see a montage of him fighting with the Romans, then like the Nazis and shit. It's like, hell yeah. That's Ben. But with 1920s knowledge. Fucking, so Amos is like, I'm going to get a divorce. Okay, goodbye. And is like still a sad boy about it. Finishes his song. Roxy fires Bobby Flynn because she's just kind of dumb. I don't even remember like what.
She's like goes and shows up 10 minutes late to a meeting, and he's like, hey, don't do that again. He's like, I'm not going to wear this dress. You're a dum-dum. I'm hot. Everyone loves me. And he's just like, fine. Swing, bitch.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. So he's had enough of her shit. And Roxy's like, I can make it on my own. And immediately the Hungarian not guilty bitch gets hanged.
Her last words were, I wish there were more children in the house.
And they do like the Hungarian like disappearing act. So as she's getting hung, she's doing like a routine in Fantasy World and shit. And this was really cool in the Broadway play, by the way. This is fucking dope. But so she gets hanged, and Roxy's like, oh shit. Because they hadn't hung a woman before, and they were telling Roxy, it's like, that's your odds are 1 in 47. Like, you're not going to get hanged. And then they just hung somebody. She's like, oh, fuck. So she rehires Flynn immediately. And this is like where the trial begins. And Billy Flynn sings the old razzle dazzle song. It's like, give him the old razzle dazzle. And he makes like the courtroom just like a kangaroo court. And just like makes it a whole show. And is a big showman and shit, which is great.
It's the greatest awesome. Showman, almost?
Yes, actually. If only he could be as morally pure as, what is it, Barnum and Bailey?
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum, yeah,
something.
a god among men who's never done any wrong. Yeah, no, what a guy, that guy. So, he's no P.T. Barnum, but he is doing a really good show. And they're doing a montage of him just fucking eviscerating everybody on the stand and making the jury like play to his hand and shit. And it's like the old bitch from the beginning of the musical. He's like, okay, were you wearing your glasses? She's like, mm-mm. And he stands like on the other side of the courtroom. He's like, how many fingers? And she's like, eh. And he's like, see, this bitch don't know nothing. So that was funny. But then she brings Amos up on the stand, and he's like, you're filing for divorce? And he's like, yes. And he's like, and it's because the baby's not yours? And he's like, yes. And he's like, did you ever even ask if it was yours? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, how about you ask? And he's just like, is the baby mine? And Roxy's like,
sure, whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, oh my God. And pulls back his divorce. So the crowd is like, hooray.
He also like makes fun. Like, are you telling me you slept next to this beautiful woman for 4 months and didn't have sex with her? And he's like, what?
But I can't get hard. But mister, I can't even get it up. My dick's made of cellophane. What did you think that song was about?
Oh no.
That's what I call him. It's Mr. Cellophane. Fucking so he recants his divorce thing, and then he's like, all right, here we go. This case is coming together. But then Velma pops in, surprise, and she's got a copy of Roxanne's, or she has Roxy's diary, and you can tell because it says Roxy in big letters on the front, so that you know.
They showed her writing in it earlier in the movie.
Did they?
As well.
They talk about
I missed that.
when
I guess
she's with McNulty, she's like, whenever I have a good idea, I write it down. He's like, whatever, dumb broad.
See, I missed that completely. I did not follow the diary through this movie. Well, I'm a big idiot, but So the diary comes back apparently, and she's like, "Oh, Roxy literally like confessed to murdering this man in her diary," and the crowd's like, "Oh my god!"
Would that stand up in court? Just like, I found a written confession.
I don't think so. They're like, "We're gonna have to analyze this new evidence that you've withheld, and you can't just be like, stop the court with it."
And like Velma gets acquitted of her murder because she turned state's witness with my 100% totally real, not made up, I did it diary.
Yeah. So different in the 20s, man. I don't know. I can't vouch for how the system worked then.
All cops did was have hunches and say quippy things.
Yeah.
And then just smoke cigarettes down their fingers and go dames whenever murders weren't solved.
It's a big bucket of blood here. Gross. Clean it up.
All that reminds me of is in L.A. Noire, if you like repeatedly get leads wrong, he's like, guess that didn't pan out or whatever.
Or he's like,
Oops.
I'm gonna break your hand with a goddamn shovel and make you eat your fingers. Ah! I take that back. I apologize.
Now, who would have stolen this dime-back novel if it wasn't you? Okay. Where were we? So the diary shows up. Flynn is like rubbing his hands. He's like, here we go. I'm going to do my showstopper.
It's his fucking trap card that
it is. So they do like a tap dance, which is great. I love tap dance. So Flynn, like, in his fantasy tap dance, it's him just like playing all of his cards right and fucking boom, 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 discrediting the diary while also saying that the DA planted it and shit and just like knocking everybody out. And so it all like comes together. Roxy is acquitted. And it's a cool little, like, thing with some newsies. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah, they have, like, the two sets of newspapers. One says guilty, and, like, they flash on that first, and you're like, oh,
right.
no. And then it's like, aha, we tricked you.
Yeah, the other side's
wacky,
innocent.
And it's like...
It was.
Yeah, I mean...
It was wacky.
Do you think that newspaper was really bringing everything together? That there was another article about an opera house burning down and a new club called Xanadu opening?
All of this happened in 1924.
It's all
like this spanned
connected.
Decades. It's all connected.
It's the
Every
musical cinematic
ever.
universe, yeah.
Fuck yeah. The MCU.
Yeah, there you go.
Fucking. So there's the two stacks of papers, and the newsies are like hanging out, and they're like, not guilty, and they throw the not guilty papers everywhere, and she's like, hooray, and they celebrate for exactly 2 seconds, and then a woman just shoots a lawyer outside of the courtroom. And did this woman exist before this?
No.
Did I miss something?
No.
Okay, all right. So just this random woman just shoots a lawyer, and everybody in the courtroom is like, oh my god, a new thing, and they all like run away.
Yeah.
And Roxy's like, but I'm famous. And they're like, not anymore, bitch.
And Billy's just like, it's Chicago. There's a new murder. Sucks to suck,
He
nerd.
said the name of the...
said the
name of the musical.
The name of the musical is Chicago.
Oh,
hell
good.
yeah.
2 of our friends who get that joke are going to lose their mind.
But so everybody leaves, and she's just like, damn, everybody leaves but Amos. And Amos is like, I can't wait for the baby. And she's like, Amos, you fucking Neanderthal. I am not pregnant, you dunce.
And he's like,
Oh.
Does that mean you... No, it means I don't love you.
Yeah. So Amos is just fucked, and that's that. So Roxy, from courtroom, she goes to like a vaudeville tryout, and is just completely rejected, flat out. And I'm like not 100% sure, because he's like on screen for like a second. But I swear to God, one of the judges is like the Mickey Doyle, the fucking bootlegger from Boardwalk Empire, who's fucking hilarious the entire span of the show, and somehow doesn't die for like 6 seasons when he just is like an asshole and an idiot. It's amazing. So I hope that's him.
Is it the same character?
I hope so. I could see it. I mean, he is supposed to be in Atlantic City, but I mean, that's on par for his character to piss off Steve Buscemi. What are you reviewing vaudeville for? You're supposed to be making me whiskey. And he's like, this girl had a good set of pipes. So, that'd be good. No, so he dips. He's like, you suck at singing. And she's singing a song called Nowadays, which I kind of forget how it goes, but it's
like
it's
life.
all right.
Life's good. It's grand. You can cheat on your husband if you want. It's whatevs.
Yeah. It's a good song. It's fine. It's not incredible like a lot of these other ones, but it's good. Velma like comes up to Roxy after she's all leaving, all dejected and me. So Velma comes up to her and she's like, "We can still work together." And Roxy's still a thunder cunt, and she's just like, no. And then she's like, wait, damani. She's like, okay. So they sing, so they're like, okay, we'll work together. And then it cuts to them on stage together, and it's like a big immaculate stage. They
In
sing
the Chicago theater.
Oh, yeah, you're right. They like show every individual letter of Chicago. And they're like, see, you get it? So I'm glad I could finally confirm that this is in fact in Chicago. Or maybe it's just the set. Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe they're in like San Paulo. Fucking so they sing nowadays like reprised, and then they do a Hot Honey Rag, and they're just like dancing around and shooting off fake Tommy guns and fucking, I don't know, spreading their lips and shit for the audience, and everyone's like, woo! And the crowd shits and pees themselves, and they're just like, this is the best thing we've ever seen, and they give it a standing ovation.
And Billy Flynn's in there like, I did this.
Yeah, like everybody in the musical, like Billy Flynn, all the murderesses and all this stuff, Mama and everybody, they're all watching, and they're like, hooray! And then they tell the audience, like Roxy and Velma, they're like, we couldn't have done it without you. And it's like, very, very, very heavy.
So it reminded me of, there's this book that O.J. Simpson wrote called If I Did It, with the if being in parentheses.
Nice.
Same energy.
Same energy.
Same energy. Yeah.
Honestly, like the entire, coming out in 2002, I feel like that's, right off the heels of the OJ trial. So
Yes, I thought it
was in the 90s.
I mean, but like,
2002.
you could make the point that like, oh yeah, like big famous people, like they're gonna, get acquitted or whatever.
I just feel like with how that trial went down and like the showmanship that was kind of shown there, I think it's a very good parallel to what Chicago was showing and shit. Like I feel like it was time appropriate in that scope. I feel like people could draw more. It just felt like a lot of that was inspired by, or not inspired because it existed before.
Yeah.
But the movie adaptation coming out after, they're like, oh, look at that. This seems like a relevant time to do a Chicago thing again.
Yeah.
So that's just me, though. It's just a theory.
So now we're going to go into, it's a one-off segment. It's History Time with Ben.
It's not going to be super expansive, but like this is... the musical is based on like a play that was written in 1926 by Maureen Dallas Watkins, who was actually a reporter in like the 1924 trials of these two murderesses, like Beulah and Belva. I don't know what the fuck their names are, so fucking weird. Beulah and Belva, but like basically they were like jazz singers, and Belva's like Velma, but it's very loose and there's not really much there that associates her with Velma. But Roxy is based on Beulah, and it's a lot more like, yeah, this is just that character where she like killed her lover and wanted to be like a jazz star, and she just found like she was pregnant but didn't, it was a whole thing about like how it was just like a sympathy card, and Beulah and Belva didn't meet till they were put in murderous row at the Cook County Jail, so it is like a fucking thing that happened, and there were a lot of like notorious killers there in like the women's section, and it was like a beauty shop where they do like outfits and makeup for each other going to trials to like get off because they're like famous and beautiful and shit. So I figured that a lot of this was like based on real accounts, but it's actually like, oh no, this is like way more inspired by real events than I thought. But all the trials took place at the Chicago courthouse. And the ladies had different lawyers. It wasn't just one guy. But Billy Flynn is like a manifestation of both, where it's like William Scott Stewart and W.W. O'Brien were the lawyers, and they were just like showmen, really, doing their thing. And it wasn't a musical when it was written as a play in 1926. It was transformed by like a team of a bunch of people, but they wanted the musical to focus a lot more on like the showbiz part of it, which they fucking do in the movie and on stage. But yeah, it like inspired a lot of the vaudeville kind of routines. Like We Both Reach for the Gun is like super vaudeville, and that's like kind of where those guys wanted the musical to be like a vaudeville act, and it's like, oh, that's cool.
So branching off that, it was a point I missed earlier. The one song they cut was it's like Mama and Velma are talking during Roxy's trial. It's called like Class. It's about no one has class anymore. Everything sucks.
Yeah, I forgot that one.
But it's just like, it's not a show. There's no stage. It's just like two women basically having a conversation in a room, like how plays work, I guess. So that to steal some very smart words I learned from a YouTube video, most of the songs are non-diegetic, which means it's very obvious they do not take place within the actual real world. But this one could be diegetic because it takes place arguably within the actual action. And there's your highfalutin words to impress people.
I think they made the right call. I think it would have been awkward to make it diegetic.
Oh no, I agree with it.
The first, all that jazz is actually like takes place in the world, but I think that's about it. And the last song,
Yeah.
but that's about it. I like that they cap both ends with like they match the reality with the vaudeville acts they've been putting on in fantasy world. So
Yeah. So
really well done.
Yeah. So overall, what did y'all think of the movie?
I think this is the best musical movie I've ever seen. Like adaptation of a musical into a movie. What's better? What?
I can't think of one better off the top of my head, but it's so definitely like the top like 3. This is a very well done movie.
Yeah, and that's like I think for all of the things I don't know, just it being a dark comedy and that throwing me off puts like a weird, I don't know, it's a weird movie for me. Like it is extremely well made, and we'll get to that as we sort of talk about like the critical success of it. I don't know that like it's one that I will like rewatch anytime soon, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good movie.
What about Queen Latifah's big titties?
Yeah, but
You're just talking about it.
Yeah.
She's got a big filmography. I mean, I can. There's
Not
other
like that, dude.
content.
I don't know. Her in 1920s flapper outfits. I don't know.
There's
Waving
a
a feather and shit.
Yeah, in her other movies, does she have a line with, "I give tit for tat, and I get a lot of tat for all I give"?
Yeah.
Think about it.
That's a fair
Think
point.
about it.
Okay. So yeah, as I was sort of saying, it was a big critical and commercial success. It made $306.8 million at the box office on a budget of $45 million. So
Goddamn.
it did really fucking
It's a
well.
lot cheaper than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, like
It was only 2 Xanadu's.
it won the Academy Award for Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Film Editing, and Best Sound, which, like,
I agree with all
damn,
of
they
those.
fucking swept. I'd be curious to see what else came out.
Supporting
that
actress,
year.
I mean, like, Catherine Zeta-Jones is a good Velma, but Velma's not really that active in the movie. She's just kind of in the background doing some routines once in a while.
Yeah.
But she did her own like dancing. I don't know if that
That is
counts as
impressive.
acting.
I don't know what other movies came out in 2002.
I'd have to look.
It
Yeah.
beats, I know, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
God damn.
But I'm also not surprised it won Best Picture because it's a period piece. The Academy loves musicals, and most importantly, it's a movie about show business.
This is true.
So they immediately came in their mouths.
The only greater Oscar bait I can think of is, like, The Artist. Yeah, if Chicago was in black and white, this would just fucking kill. They would have won everything. They would have shut the Oscars down. They'd be like, that's it, you can't.
It's
There's
the
there's
Chicagos.
nothing else to happen. Yeah, no movie could match this. It's the Chicagos.
So, I'm not sure who wrote this note, but somebody added that Catherine Zeta-Jones is married to Michael Douglas, so
That's
do
weird.
with that information what you
That's
will.
weird.
like-
I was like, I forgot her name, and I was like, is it really just like like she's a fucking robot, Catherine Zeta-Jones? It's weird. And then I looked her up, and like it was her and Michael Douglas, and I was like, what? And Michael Douglas is like 30 years older than her. It's just like,
Wanna
It's
know-
ew.
Hollywood.
Yeah, want to know why? Because you can.
I mean, yeah, it was weird. It was weird to me, and I was just like, weird. So now I can pass on that weird knowledge. Sometimes you don't need a point. Sometimes it's just like, ew. It's like when I found out John Voight was Angelina Jolie's dad. I was just like,
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Holy
It's just fucking weird. It's just like, I get it. I can see, I
Yeah,
get it,
now
but
I
it's
can't
weird.
see that.
Yeah, and apparently he's a real shit father. Real
Ah.
bad.
It doesn't shock me.
No. But,
So do any of y'all have any final thoughts before we
what
wrap
did
things
you,
up?
you didn't answer what you think is a better musical adaptation.
So that's like,
Dear Evan Hansen.
I think Fiddler on the Roof is...
Ooh.
That's...
Oh, my
but that's
boy.
like, that sits like so...
How could I have forgotten?
I
You're
don't-
right.
And that'll be if we
That
ever
one's
do
dope.
season 2 of Boyos Summer Musicals.
Now, I'll have to say that I think, like, adaptation-wise, you get what the play gives you with the movie. I don't know, like, what's in the movie that's added from the musical that, like, improves anything.
Yeah, I've seen the movie and
'Cause it's
I've
incredible.
seen Fiddler live, and it's...
I don't
they're
know the
both
All I'm
difference,
saying is
yeah.
the movie doesn't have the weird schlocky thing where it's like in the present at the end and they're like, think of the plight.
I think that was literally just a modern playwright was like, I need to have my own thing with it. I don't think that's a standard part of the
All
play.
I'm saying is the movie doesn't have it.
Fiddler's very well done, but like the shit I'm talking about, where like the things you can only do like with the movie instead of on the stage, is what I want. Anytime you do an adaptation, it's like, how are you going to do it differently? It's kind of like anytime you do a live action anime, where it's like, why would I want that? You'd better do something that you can only do with live action.
Yeah, you can make all the characters white if it's live action.
Yeah, you're
Isn't that
right.
what Hollywood
No,
wants?
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, no, it's just it rarely happens where I'm like happy and satisfied and I'm like, you literally did improve it. I could almost definitively say that, like, watch the movie instead of the musical for Chicago. Musical's great. Go see any musical. It's great. But the movie does things better. Honestly, I feel like. So it's really impressive, and I never imagined a movie adaptation of a very successful musical could do that, really.
Yeah.
So I'm very impressed. Also, I mentioned, I talked about Cuba Gooding. He was great. Like, he was on stage, he was Billy Flynn doing all the things. Great. Definitely the fucking weakest part of that play by far, which was funny to me, because, like, Cuba's very, like, he's great on screen. I love him in his movies, but, like, the singers on Broadway are just so fucking good. Like, literally.
Yeah, yeah. So when you
like
throw in like a
prodigies.
Hollywood actor,
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
He was
Yeah.
very much below the level of these Broadway singers.
Mm.
Not bad,
yeah.
but it was just like, wow, he was the reason I went to see it, and he's the worst part.
I mean,
But he's like, and worst part, it's like, he's still amazing.
Yeah.
Is it as awkward as when, like, David Hasselhoff was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Oh,
Absolutely
God.
not. No. He was still good, but it was, I thought that was funny.
So with that, that is going to do it for today's episode of the Boyos Discuss. If you enjoyed the podcast and you're listening on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll be wrapping up the Boyos Summer Musicals segment that we're doing next week with a review of the hit, in air quotes, 2019 movie Cats.
It's going to be a cat extravaganza.
I can't fucking wait.
It's going to be a catastrophe.
Please
So-
write us with more cat puns.
Anyways, guys, until next time.
Coming this March, Jude Law and Renee Zellweger in The Picnic.
Oh no, these ants are ruining our picnic.
You mean this picnic is ruining our ants?
Look around your world, pretty baby, is it